architectural designer. I'm based here in Zimbabwe and I'm currently running an architectural consultancy firm registered in 2019 as Kenyan Investment. Friendly architecture or green design is based on the sustainable development concept. And this concept was first coined in the 1980s after the publication of what's called the Brundtland Report, which was commissioned by the United Nations under the World Commission for Economics and Development. So this report was published to investigate the world's need for a new approach towards the use of resources. So this report came up with a definition for sustainable development, which is development which meets the needs of the present generation without compromising on the needs of on the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. So green design and climate-friendly architecture is aimed at preserving our natural resources and making the best use of the resources we already have to ensure that future generations can meet their own needs.
My name is Tendai Mbungo, and I'm an architectural expert, specializing more in project management, with more than 10 years experience in the field of architecture. Sustainable architecture being the issue of minimizing the impact of we're trying to minimize the environmental impact of buildings by designing green buildings. Some call them green architecture, others environmental architecture, and others sustainable architecture. So what we're trying to achieve is to have to meet today's needs in building design without necessarily affecting the future needs. So it will be looking at resources, we'll be looking at the architecture itself, like form and function. And now we are incorporating issues to do with the environment, making sure that we don't replenish resources for the future generations.
Architecture that takes stock of its environment and tries to address the climate change in a way that's slightly different from everyone else. It's architecture that, say, for an example, reduces the carbon footprint of the building, i.e. during the construction process and after.
We have said before, the earth doesn't replenish itself. What it does is every resource that we use, we are not getting it back. So we have to make sure that even in architecture, mostly we focus on issues to do with the thermal comfort in buildings, which is more to do with the environment. So in thermal comfort, we are looking at ventilation. How are we ventilating our buildings? We are also looking at lighting. How are we lighting our buildings? We are also looking at heating. How are we heating our buildings? So this is a most complex issue because I think way back we just used to design our buildings without putting into consideration this aspect on how are we going to heat our buildings, how are we going to light them. And now it's very important that we have to look at that. For example, you'll find that like we are very blessed in Zimbabwe, we've got the sun. It is a very important resource. And what are we doing about it? We are not using it enough. You'll find that some people are still using electric geysers to heat their water. Others are even using electricity to still heat their environments, but which is not okay in terms of resource use when we are talking about sustainable architecture.
We're looking at things like sustainable architecture, like green roofs that reduce the temperature of the building and its impact on the environment. See, when we build, we cut down trees and we displace animals. But with green roofs, you can still manage to maintain the flora and the fauna of a place so that there's not that much of a disruption, for an example. We can also talk of things like technologies like rammed earth that have been around for a very long time, but again, they also reduce the environmental footprint. I mean, the energy footprint of a building. For an example, you're looking at maybe using more energy efficient materials, aerolite in roofs so that your buildings are warm in winter and cool in summer, yet at the same time, not really destroying the environment.
Sustainability matters because construction industry contributes to about 40% of the world's CO2 emissions, and about 36% of the raw materials which are used in the world are extracted by the construction industry. So we need design which considers sustainability, designing with sustainability in mind. So it matters because our future and our world depend on how we use the resources around us. If we look at the Sustainable Development Goals, there is a symbiotic relationship between sustainability and development. Development comes from our environment, and the better use we make of our environment, the more development we can make and advancements we can produce as a human race.
Climate-friendly technology is not exactly crazy expensive. It's applicable anyway, especially when you're dealing with low-income earners or low-income architecture, which is the majority of our buildings anyway in Zimbabwe. You remember a few years ago, all our houses used to be built in, they used to be roofed in asbestos, and we found out later on that wasn't good for anyone's health. So you do have technologies that are coming onto the market that somewhat are cheaper and are good for our health and good for the environment. For an example, you have hydroform bricks, which are bricks that can be made from the soil around the building. You know, you dig earth from a building to do foundations. You take that earth, you turn it into bricks, and the bricks are interlocking. So you don't have to use as much concrete or cement. You build a building much faster, that's much cleaner, and that's much healthier. And you've used dirt that you'd have thrown away anyway to build the building. So it's a saving on the owner, it's a saving on the environment. So it's a win-win for everyone.
Let's design buildings with locally available material. Let's design buildings which are responsive to our environment, our climate. Let's design buildings which can be built by local labor, right? That's reducing the need for imported labor or technical labor. It's possible, right? And we have a track record of doing it in the past, and with modern resources, I'm sure we can tap into some of that ancient wisdom.